Ladies and gentlemen, there is a silent force shaping your life at this very moment. It isn't fate, it isn't luck, and it isn't the world around you. It's what's happening inside your mind, those repeated thoughts you entertain day after day, the ones you whisper to yourself when no one is listening, the thoughts you allow to replay like a broken record. Those thoughts are quietly building your reality. If you think you're powerless, if you think nothing will change, then life will prove you right. But if you dare to think differently, if you begin to repeat thoughts of strength, faith, courage, and purpose, then you will start to feel something shift. Your world will begin to take a new shape because thought, repeated and believed, becomes the architecture of your destiny. The mind is your most sacred gift from God, and what you feed it, what you rehearse in it, is what you will live. This truth is not just psychology, it is spiritual power. You are about to discover how your repeated thoughts can either chain you or set you free. Thoughts are like seeds planted in the rich soil of the mind. Each thought, once planted, begins to take root and grow. The more you repeat that thought, the deeper the roots go, and the stronger the plant becomes. This is not just a poetic idea. It is a living truth that works in every life, whether one realizes it or not. You are constantly planting seeds with every thought you think, and whether those seeds bear fruit or weeds depends entirely on what you choose to repeat. If you wake up each day and tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "nothing ever works out for me," that thought, repeated, begins to shape the way you feel, the way you act, and even how others respond to you. You begin to carry yourself in a way that matches the belief, and soon life begins to resemble the very thing you feared, not because fate is cruel, but because the garden of your mind grew what you allowed to grow. But here's the powerful truth. The process works the other way too. If you plant thoughts of faith, thoughts of courage, thoughts of victor, even if you don't feel them fully at first, they too will begin to grow. The more you repeat them, the more real they become. Repetition gives them strength. They begin to sink down into your subconscious and shape how you see the world. You start to act with more boldness. You start to speak with more confidence. You begin to expect good things, and life rises to meet that expectation. You see, repetition is the tool that turns a single hopeful idea into a dominant belief. And that belief becomes the blueprint of your future. One single seed of thought, repeated day after day, has the power to change your habits, direct your decisions, and even guide your destiny. It's not enough to think a good thought once. You must rehearse it, you must nourish it, you must protect it from the weeds of doubt and fear. The great tragedy is that most people don't realize this. They let the same negative thought patterns play over and over in their minds, and then wonder why nothing changes. But you can be different. You can begin today to choose your thoughts deliberately. You can replace fear with faith, worry with peace, doubt with belief. It begins with a decision, and it grows through repetition. God gave you a powerful mind, and He gave you the ability to choose what you will dwell on. So dwell on truth, dwell on possibility, dwell on hope, say it, speak it, think it, again and again, until it becomes who you are. Because what you repeat in your mind, you will soon repeat in your life. And that, my friend, is how thoughts become reality. Your mind is not just a place where thoughts pass by like clouds in the sky. It is a creative workshop, constantly building, shaping, and molding the reality you live in. Every day, whether you notice it or not, your mind is working. It is crafting attitudes, beliefs, responses, and ultimately the life you experience. The most powerful part of this truth is that you get to choose what material your mind works with. If you feed it thoughts of defeat, discouragement, and failure, it will build a life filled with fear, hesitation, and limitation. But if you feed it thoughts of strength, hope, and faith, it will build a life filled with purpose, boldness, and possibility. Your dominant thoughts are like the instructions you hand over to a master builder. Your mind takes those instructions seriously. If you dwell on the idea that you're not enough, that you've missed your chance, or that your situation is hopeless, then your mind begins to find ways to prove those thoughts true. It filters your experiences, tunes in to failure, and blinds you to opportunity. But if you begin to dwell on thoughts of faith, if you tell yourself, there is a way, or I am being strengthened, or my life has purpose, your mind will shift. It will begin to highlight new paths, create new ideas, and attract new strength into your daily life. This is why the thoughts you dwell on must be chosen carefully. A single repeated thought, nurtured daily, becomes the framework for your future. The mind doesn't ask whether the thought is good or bad. It simply begins to create based on what you dwell on most. And that's why thinking with faith is not just a positive habit. It's a spiritual command. God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. That power begins with what you allow your mind to hold. Faith is more than a feeling. It is a repeated commitment to believe in something higher than your fear. And when that belief is repeated, your mind begins to build confidence, courage begins to rise, ideas begin to flow. You step into situations with a different energy, and that energy attracts favor, guidance, and grace. When you understand your mind as a workshop, you begin to take your thoughts seriously. You don't casually allow fear to sit in the corner of your mind. You don't entertain self-doubt as if it's harmless. You begin to cleanse the workspace. You fill it with truth. You reinforce it with affirmations. You build a life from the inside out. And the greatest part is, you don't have to do it alone. God works with you in that workshop. When your thoughts align with His promises, your mind becomes an instrument of miracles. Think faith, speak hope, dwell on courage, and watch how your life begins to reflect the strength you've built inside. What you say to yourself in the quiet corners of your mind matters more than you may ever realize. Long before the world responds to your actions, your inner world has already shaped the outcome. The words you silently repeat, the beliefs you rehearse again and again, those become the foundation of your decisions, your emotions, your reactions, and ultimately, your life. Most people don't even notice the dialogue running through their minds because it's been there for so long. But those repeated messages are creating either invisible walls or invisible wings. If day after day you tell yourself, I'm not smart enough, or I can't handle this, you are building barriers within your own mind. These aren't just fleeting thoughts. When repeated, they become beliefs. And once a belief is formed, your mind looks for ways to support it. You'll begin to notice evidence that confirms your fear and overlook opportunities that contradict it. You'll talk yourself out of trying, and you'll retreat from the very path you were meant to walk. That's the power of repeated negative thinking. It traps you, silently and slowly, until you've built a prison with your own words. But the opposite is also true. If you begin to feed your mind with life, giving thoughts, if you speak words of faith, of strength, of purpose, those repeated thoughts will begin to tear down the walls and build a pathway forward. The moment you start saying, "I can do this," or "I am guided and empowered," your mind shifts its direction. You'll start seeing doors where there once were walls. Your energy changes. Your decisions become bold. Your spirit begins to rise. Affirmations are not just nice words. They are powerful tools that align your thinking with your true potential. When you repeatedly say things like, "I am capable," "I am equipped," "I am strong in the face of adversity," you are reprogramming your internal system. At first, it might feel unnatural or forced, but that's only because you've been rehearsing something different for too long. Keep repeating the truth, and your subconscious will eventually believe it. And once it believes it, your actions will follow. God created your mind with the capacity to choose what it believes. He gave you authority over your thoughts. That means you don't have to accept every fear that comes knocking. You don't have to listen to every voice of doubt that whispers in the background. You can choose to speak faith. You can choose to repeat God's promises. You can choose to build yourself up from the inside. What you tell yourself every day is not just background noise. It's the script of your future. Speak life, speak strength, speak truth, and watch as your belief system begins to open doors, build courage, and create the reality your heart has always longed for. You do not need to wait for your circumstances to change before you begin to feel better, act stronger, or walk with confidence. Change does not start on the outside. It begins deep within your mind. The moment you decide to shift your thinking, the momentum of your life begins to move in a new direction. Most people wait for something good to happen before they start believing again, but true power lies in believing before the evidence appears. That's where the miracle begins. Faith-filled thinking opens the door to unexpected opportunities, divine appointments, and a renewed sense of purpose. The world around you is always changing. Situations rise and fall. People come and go. Challenges appear and fade. But the one thing you have control over every single day is your thought life. If you choose to think with defeat, if you constantly dwell on what's missing or what's wrong, your life will feel like a constant uphill battle. But if you choose to think with faith, even in the midst of hardship, something powerful begins to unfold. Your thoughts create your outlook, and your outlook shapes your energy, your choices, and your future. The most important decision you can make each day is what kind of thoughts you will allow to take root. Will you focus on the problem, or will you focus on the possibility? Will you rehearse what's broken, or will you speak life to what's being built? Change your thinking and you change your emotions. Change your emotions and you change your actions. And when your actions are aligned with hope, belief, and confidence, your life begins to shift in powerful ways. This is not about ignoring reality, it's about shaping it, because reality doesn't only come from the outside, it also comes from the beliefs you hold on the inside. When your mind is filled with fear, every path looks uncertain. But when your mind is filled with faith, even the difficult road seems worth walking. Your energy changes when your mind is renewed. You walk differently. You speak differently. You face challenges with a quiet confidence that says, "I am not alone. I am being guided. I am being strengthened." God works through the thoughts you choose. His promises are waiting to be activated through your belief. That's why the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformation doesn't begin with money or status or praise. It begins when you decide to think differently, when you refuse to let doubt dominate your thoughts, when you feed your mind with truth, when you align your thinking with God's vision for your life. You don't have to stay where you are. You don't have to repeat the patterns of yesterday. One new thought, one bold decision to think with faith, can break the cycle and open a new chapter. Change your thinking, and your life will begin to rise to meet it. Faith is not a one-time feeling or a passing emotion. It is a decision you make over and over again, repeated confidence in a better future, even when the present seems uncertain. Faith is choosing to believe in possibilities when nothing around you seems possible. It is waking up each day and feeding your mind with hope, with belief, with divine confidence. Not once, not occasionally, but daily, consistently, until what you believe becomes more real to you than what you fear. When you feed your mind with faith-filled thoughts, something begins to shift within you. Your inner dialogue changes. You stop saying, I can't, and you begin to say, with God's help, I can. You stop focusing on your limitations, and you begin to see the power within you. That power grows every time you choose to believe in the future you do not yet see. And the more you believe it, the more you align your energy, your actions, and your choices with that belief. What you repeatedly believe, you eventually achieve, not because of wishful thinking, but because belief activates effort, and effort moves mountains. Faith rewires your inner world. It rewrites the script that's been playing in your mind. It silences the voice that says you'll never make it, and it turns up the volume on the voice that says, you are more than a conqueror. But this doesn't happen once. It happens through repetition. You must repeat the truth until it replaces the lie. You must speak faith again and again, especially when doubt tries to creep in, because faith doesn't grow from comfort. It grows in resistance, and repetition is how you build spiritual muscle. Just like the body is strengthened by repeated movement, the spirit is strengthened by repeated belief. Every time you say, I trust, even when you feel fear, your spirit becomes stronger. Every time you say, there is a way, even when the path looks blocked, your mind becomes clearer. And every time you say, God is with me, even when you feel alone, your heart becomes braver. You are not meant to live in fear of the future. You are meant to shape the future with your faith. Faith is the tool God gave you to partner with Him in creation. Your belief draws possibilities out of hiding. Your belief invites miracles into motion, but it's not a one-time leap, it's a daily rhythm. Feed your mind every day with faith. Start your mornings with hopeful declarations. Fill your thoughts with vision, not despair. And return again and again to the promises that remind you who you really are. The future is not something that happens to you. It is something that flows from within you. If you believe you are guided, you will walk with direction. If you believe you are strong, you will face hardship with endurance. And if you believe that your best days are ahead, then no storm, no setback, and no struggle can stop you. The mind is one of the greatest gifts ever given to you. It is powerful, creative, and capable of shaping the direction of your entire life. But like any great gift, it must be trained, guided, and guarded. Just as the body becomes strong through discipline, the mind gains power through consistent mental training. Every thought that passes through your mind leaves a mark, and over time, those thoughts form patterns. Those patterns become habits, and those habits build the character and direction of your life. This is why mental discipline is not just helpful, it is essential. It is the key to unlocking spiritual power, lasting peace, and unshakable confidence. Training your mind is not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It's about choosing what to focus on. It's about deciding what you will allow to take root in your heart. Fear may come knocking, but you don't have to invite it in. Doubt may whisper, but you don't have to listen. You have the power to choose thoughts that uplift, encourage, and strengthen you. That choice, made over and over again, builds a mental foundation that nothing in the world can shake. It starts with awareness. Notice what you think about throughout the day. Notice the words you speak to yourself when you make a mistake, when you feel pressure, or when you face uncertainty. Are those words building you up or tearing you down? Are they rooted in truth or in fear? Once you begin to notice those thoughts, you can challenge them. You can replace them. You can speak life where you once spoke doubt. This is the practice of mental discipline, choosing truth, choosing faith, and choosing to rise above the noise of negativity. Spiritual power is born in this quiet battle of the mind. The scriptures say, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." That means your life becomes a reflection of your dominant thoughts. And when your dominant thoughts are aligned with faith, purpose, and divine truth, your life takes on a whole new strength. You begin to see the hand of God in your daily steps. You begin to feel peace even in pressure. You begin to stand firm when the world around you shakes. Just like an athlete trains his body every day, you must train your mind. Read what inspires you. Speak what strengthens you. Think what lifts your spirit, and when you fall, get back up with grace. When you feel weak, remind yourself of the strength that lives within you. The more you train your thoughts to align with truth, the more you tap into the spiritual power that's always been available to you. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of negative thinking. You have been given the authority to direct your thoughts, and through that authority you can rise. Mental discipline, practiced daily, becomes the bridge to spiritual victory. God created you with a powerful divine connection. Your mind, it's not just a space for thoughts to drift through. It is the very place where He partners with you to shape your life. Every thought you hold, every belief you repeat, becomes either a wall or a window. When your thoughts are rooted in fear, worry, or doubt, they can block the flow of blessings meant for you. But when your thoughts align with His promises, you create space for miracles to unfold. God does not force His way into your thinking. He invites you to walk with Him in faith, one thought at a time. There is a sacred power in aligning your thoughts with what God has already spoken over your life. His word is filled with promises, not of defeat, but of victory, not of despair, but of hope, not of failure, but of purpose. When you meditate on those promises, when you hold them close and repeat them in your heart, you begin to open a divine channel of clarity, strength, and favor. Your thoughts are not just internal whispers. They are the signals your soul sends out to heaven, and when they are in harmony with God's truth, heaven responds. Think about it. How often do you allow thoughts of "I'm not enough," or "this will never work," to play on repeat in your mind? Those are not God's thoughts. Those are thoughts rooted in fear, and fear is not from Him. He speaks life, power, and purpose into your spirit. But to hear it, you must quiet the noise and tune your mind to His voice. It begins with intention, with surrender, with the daily choice to replace every fearful thought with a promise from God's Word. This is not about perfect thinking, it's about faithful thinking. It's about meeting God in the small moments of your mind and saying, I trust you more than I trust this fear. When you do that, the atmosphere begins to change. Your confidence grows. Your clarity sharpens. You begin to see beyond the natural and step into the supernatural. That is how God works, not by force, but by invitation. He waits for you to choose his way of thinking, and when you do, transformation begins. Your mind becomes a vessel of his wisdom. Your thoughts become instruments of peace, and your life becomes a testimony of what's possible when a person chooses to believe. The same power that spoke the universe into existence now speaks through your thoughts, if you'll allow it. Keep your mind on what is pure, what is noble, what is praiseworthy. Keep your thoughts anchored in his promises. The more you do, the more you'll see doors open that no man can shut. God works through the thoughts you hold. And when you choose to think his thoughts, miracles will not just be possible, they will be inevitable. The images you hold in your mind have incredible creative power. What you consistently visualize begins to influence how you feel, how you act, and what you expect. If you can see yourself succeeding before it happens, you begin to move through life with the mindset of someone who knows where they're going. Vision is not just imagination, it is direction. And when you visualize success repeatedly, you are giving your mind a blueprint to follow. You are telling your spirit, your emotions, your energy, and even your habits where to go. That image, repeated again and again, begins to feel real, and what feels real eventually becomes real. Many people live with pictures in their minds that were placed there by failure, disappointment, or fear. They replay old mistakes, visualize more loss, and wonder why nothing changes. But the truth is, your outer world cannot rise higher than the picture you hold inside. If you see defeat, you will expect defeat. But if you dare to picture something greater, something filled with possibility and growth, then your life begins to reach for that image. It starts with belief, but it is strengthened by repetition. See yourself speaking with confidence. Picture yourself walking into a room with purpose. Visualize yourself overcoming the challenges that once held you back. Your mind begins to respond to that image as if it were already happening. That's how God designed you. He gave you imagination as a tool for creation. You are not bound by what you see with your eyes. You are free to live by what you see with your spirit. And the more often you return to that vision of success, the more your mind and body align with it. Repetition is the secret. One flash of vision is not enough. You must hold that image daily, nurture it, feed it, and protect it. Write it down, speak it out loud, close your eyes and see it in detail. How does success feel? How do you carry yourself? Who are you becoming in that moment? When you create that vision, you activate something powerful within you. Your subconscious begins to lead you toward it. You notice different opportunities. You approach problems with creativity instead of fear. You start living into the image you've created. God often plants a vision in your heart long before you ever see it in your hands. That vision is your responsibility to protect. You were never meant to live in the shadow of fear. You were designed to walk in the light of purpose. See yourself whole. See yourself rising. See yourself making a difference. Hold on to that vision until it becomes the truth you walk in every single day. Because what you continually see in your heart, you will eventually see with your eyes. Every person walks a path, and that path is not paved merely by circumstances, but by thought. The direction your life takes is not random. It is deeply influenced by the thoughts you think most often. These thoughts don't just pass through your mind, they take root. They guide your feelings, shape your decisions, and build your habits. And over time, those habits become the very path your life walks upon. The dominant thought, the one that repeats in your heart day after day, becomes the compass that points you forward, even when you're not aware of it. If your dominant thought is fear, your path will be cautious, hesitant, and filled with limitations. You'll avoid risks, shrink from opportunities, and settle for less than what's possible. If your dominant thought is doubt, you'll talk yourself out of dreams before you even try. You'll see every challenge as a threat and every difficulty as a reason to quit. But when your dominant thought is faith, when your inner voice says, I am able, I am guided, something greater is ahead, you begin to walk in a different direction. Your decisions carry strength. Your spirit gains momentum. You act with purpose, not panic. The thoughts you entertain most are the ones your life will begin to mirror. That's why it's so important to examine what you're thinking when you're not even trying to think. What runs through your mind when you're driving, resting, or facing uncertainty? Are those thoughts lifting you, or are they quietly limiting you? Because the thoughts that dominate your mind will ultimately dominate your life. This is why you must guard your mind and feed it daily with what builds your faith, not what breaks it down. Think thoughts of victory. Think thoughts of healing. Think thoughts of progress and power and peace. Even when the situation hasn't changed yet, your dominant thought can still be one of hope. That hope, repeated, becomes strength. That strength becomes belief, and that belief becomes action. God didn't design your mind to live in chaos. He designed it to walk in clarity, peace, and divine direction. But that only happens when your thoughts align with His truth. When you make faith your dominant thought, you invite His guidance. You begin to walk paths that fear would have told you to avoid. You move forward not because you see the whole way, but because you trust the one who does. You don't have to control every thought that pops up, but you do have the power to choose which ones stay, and the thoughts that stay will direct the course of your life. So choose them carefully. Speak truth over yourself daily. Declare the promises of God again and again until they rise above every voice of doubt. Because when your dominant thought is anchored in faith, there is no limit to how far your path can go. What you think about all day long becomes the silent script of your life. It determines how you walk, how you talk, how you react, and how you grow. Thoughts are not passive. They are active forces shaping your perception, your decisions, and your direction. If you fill your mind with thoughts of weakness, fear, or defeat, your energy will reflect that. You'll move through the world hesitantly, unsure of yourself, bracing for disappointment. But if you choose to think confidence, if you think purpose, if you think power, and most of all, if you think faith, then your life will begin to rise and match those thoughts. You don't become what you hope for. You become what you think about most. Hope is important, but it must be repeated, reinforced, and rooted in your thinking. If your dominant thoughts are of possibility, strength, and divine guidance, you begin to see life differently. You begin to carry yourself with quiet assurance. You make bold decisions. You speak with conviction, and people around you will feel the change in you before you even speak a word. That's the unseen power of focused, faith-filled thinking. Throughout the day, Thoughts constantly pass through your mind, some positive, some negative. But the ones you dwell on, the ones you repeat, the ones you nurture, those are the thoughts that shape your reality. When you constantly think about what you lack, you begin to feel unworthy. But when you think about what you're capable of, what you're becoming, what you've overcome, then your inner world begins to lift you higher. Your life starts to stretch in the direction of your thinking. Confidence doesn't appear out of nowhere. It is developed through the repetition of belief. Purpose doesn't just show up. It is discovered through intentional thought. Power doesn't drop from the sky. It rises from within when you remind yourself daily that you were created with strength. Faith doesn't always feel loud or emotional. It often feels quiet, steady, and persistent. But when it fills your mind consistently, it rewires how you see your life. It changes what you expect, and what you expect, you begin to attract. God gave you the ability to choose your thoughts, and in doing so, He gave you the ability to shape your life. Fill your mind with what is noble, pure, strong, and filled with promise. Declare who you are in Him. Think healing, think growth, think renewal, and don't just think it once. Think it all day long. Let it become the rhythm of your mind. Let it flow through your prayers, your words, your vision, because the truth is simple but powerful. You become what you think about all day long. And if you dare to think faith, think courage, and think victory, then your life will begin to reflect exactly that. Not because everything outside you changes overnight, but because everything within you rises to a new level, and the world must follow. So go forward with faith in your heart, courage in your soul, and the unshakable belief that with God's help there is nothing, absolutely nothing, you cannot rise above and achieve.